The city has its own pulse, its own hunger, its own secrets, buried beneath layers of concrete and forgotten history. And sometimes, those secrets find their way to the surface, manifesting in places that seem to exist at the threshold between our world and something else entirely. Few buildings embody this liminal space more perfectly than the Cecil Hotel. Standing 14 stories tall in downtown Los Angeles, the Cecil Hotel opened its doors in 1927 as a beacon of luxury, gay with its Art Deco facade, marble lobby, and stained glass windows. It was meant to be a monument to prosperity in the city's growing business district. But the Great Depression arrived just 2 years later, transforming the surrounding area into what would eventually become Skid Row. The Cecil's elegance rapidly deteriorated, its halls darkening with each passing decade, as if the building itself was absorbing the desperation of its changing clientele. By the 1950s, locals had begun calling it the suicide for the alarming number of guests who ended their lives within its walls. The Cecil's dark reputation was cemented when serial killers Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, and later Jack Unterweger took up residence there during their murder sprees. Ramirez would reportedly return to the Cecil covered in blood, discarding his blood-stained clothing in the hotel's dumpster, before walking through the lobby to his room. No one questioned him. In a place like the Cecil, seeing nothing had become a survival skill. But it was in 2013 that the Cecil Hotel's darkness fully captured America's imagination, when 21-year-old Canadian student Elisa Lam disappeared during her stay there. Elisa had been traveling alone, documenting her West Coast adventure on social media. Her posts were upbeat, curious, optimistic until they abruptly stopped on January 31, 2013, when she failed to check out as scheduled and missed her daily calls to her parents. They contacted the LAPD hotel staff, told investigators that Elisa had initially been placed in a shared room, but was moved to a private room after complaints from roommates about her odd behavior. The staff's description of her final days was inconsistent and vague. Some claimed she seemed perfectly normal. Others said she appeared distressed, having whispered conversations with someone no one else could see. Kapu. On February 19th, after guests complained about low water pressure, dark water, and a strange taste, maintenance workers checked the rooftop water tanks. Inside one of them, they found Elisa's body, naked, her clothes floating alongside her. The coroner initially ruled her death an accidental drowning, noting that the small amounts of medication found in her system she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder were not enough to cause suicidal behavior. Yet questions multiplied. How did she access the rooftop, which required bypassing locked doors and alarms? How did she climb into the water tank, close the heavy lid behind her? And why was there no water in her lungs, suggesting she was dead before entering the water? But the most disturbing piece of evidence came from the hotel's elevator surveillance camera. The footage, released by police during the investigation and later going viral online, showed Lam's final recorded moments and has become one of the most analyzed and debated pieces of video in internet history. In the 4-minute video, Elisa enters the elevator and presses multiple buttons. The doors fail to close. She peers cautiously into the hallway, then presses herself against the wall of the elevator, as if hiding from someone. She steps out, gestures animatedly with her hands as if arguing with an unseen presence, then returns to the elevator, only to exit again. Her movements become increasingly erratic. She waves her arms in strange patterns, her fingers splayed in unnatural positions. At one point, she appears to be communicating in what some have described as similar to sign language, though no recognized signs have been identified. Throughout the video, the elevator doors remain open, contrary to their automatic closing mechanism. Perhaps most unsettling is the timestamp on the video, which appears to slow down at certain moments. While sections have been visibly edited out, when questioned, Police provided no explanation for these anomalies. What happened to Elisa Lam has been the subject of countless theories. Some believe she experienced a psychotic episode related to her bipolar disorder or medication. Others point to the hotel's notorious history of violence, suggesting foul play that was later covered up. Internet sleuths noted that a tuberculosis outbreak in Skid Row at the time was being tested with a diagnostic kit called Elisa, a coincidence too strange for some to accept. But longtime residents near the Cecil whisper other theory stories that don't make their way into official reports. Maria Gutierrez has lived a block from the Cecil for 43 years. That building has never been right, she told me during my research for this story. Before the girl in the water tank, there was a man in 1992 who claimed his room would rearrange itself when he wasn't looking. He was found in the hallway repeating numbers over and over. The management said he was drunk, but I saw him, his eyes were clear, and he was terrified. Former maintenance worker Derek Wilson, who left his position at the Cecil in 2010, shared his own experiences. There were rooms we didn't like to clean alone, room 1402 especially. We'd hear voices through the walls, but they weren't coming from adjacent rooms. They were coming from inside the walls themselves. Sometimes they'd just be whispering numbers. Other times they'd say your name. When I asked about Elisa Lam, Wilson became visibly uncomfortable. That girl wasn't the first to be fascinated with the roof. Guests would report seeing people up there at night, standing at the edge, looking down. But when security would check, no one would be there. The water tanks, though we were told never to approach them at night. No explanation given. While investigating for this story, I discovered city records showing that in 1931, the hotel's original architect, Lester Shearer, was found dead in one of the partially constructed utility passages that would later house the building's plumbing system. His body was contorted in a manner that broke several bones, though the coroner determined he had died of a heart attack before the injuries occurred. In his pocket was a note with a sequence of numbers, the significance of which was never determined. These numbers, when compared to the buttons Eliza pressed in the elevator, show a disturbing pattern of correspondence. The Cecil Hotel was rebranded as Stay on Main in 2011, then closed for renovations in 2017. It remains closed today, though new owners have announced plans to reopen it as upscale apartments. The building was designated a historic cultural monument in 2017, ensuring its facade will remain unchanged, preserving the exterior shell of whatever dwells within. Urban explorers who have managed to access the abandoned building in recent years report consistent phenomena. Elevators that move between floors with no power connected. Water faucets that run black for several seconds before clearing. And the persistent smell of decay in certain rooms that no amount of industrial cleaning could eliminate. Most report hearing the same sound, a rhythmic tapping from inside the walls. 3 quick taps, followed by 3 slow ones. Like Morse code. Like a message trying to break through. A message that might be better left unheard. Perhaps the most unsettling discovery came in 2019, when workers preparing for renovation found a journal sealed inside a bathroom wall, apparently hidden there in the 1930s. The water-damaged pages contained entries from a hotel resident, who described passages that shouldn't exist and doors that open to different places depending on the time of day. The final entry states, "They're using the water. The water carries their voices. Don't drink it, don't touch it. They're trying to spread." The journal was reportedly turned over to the building's owners and has not been made public. What truly happened to Elisa Lam and the countless others who've experienced the Cecil's darkness remains unknown. Was she the victim of mental illness, foul play, or something embedded in the very walls of the building? The hotel stands as a concrete testament to urban decay, yes, but perhaps also to something more: the idea that certain places serve as confluences of human suffering, collecting and concentrating it until the boundary between our world and something else grows thin. The Cecil Hotel has been renamed, rebranded, and renovated multiple times throughout its history. But locals know that changing a name doesn't change what lives within. Building watches over Skid Row still, its windows like countless dark eyes staring down at the city streets. And sometimes, if you look up at those windows at just the right moment, you might catch a glimpse of someone looking back, a face pressed against the glass of a room that's supposed to be empty. Cage in a city built on illusions. The Cecil Hotel might be Los Angeles's most honest building, a place where the veil between what we want to believe and what actually exists has worn painfully thin. The water tanks remain on the roof, empty now. But former residents swear that on quiet nights, you can still hear something moving inside them. Tap, tap, tap. A signal, an echo, a warning.